Howdy there, folks. This is Geist with another Destiny 2 dungeon guide. This one's going to be on the Pit of Heresy. I don't know how many people are still doing this or haven't already done this, but I got so much traction off of my last flawless dungeon guide, I just thought I'd go ahead and do another one. First and foremost, you're just going to follow the path that I'm going here if you've never done this dungeon before. I'm going to try to make this as noob-friendly as possible. I'm just going to pretend that you guys have never done this, and so I'm going to explain everything from the ground up, just like I did with the last one. Now, one of the things you're going to notice is that I've got Rat King in my hands. This is for all classes. Rat King is going to be your best friend, and it's what makes this dungeon a heck of a lot easier when you're on any of the classes. Now, Hunters, of course, you know, I'm a little biased, but Hunters do have a bit of an advantage here just because of their stealth. That's going to really help them get through this a lot easier. However, in this footage, I'm trying to use my stealth as little as possible just so you guys see you can do it on other classes. But of course, substituting that with the Rat King, which you'll see that here a good bit, as I'm going to rely on it quite a lot. Now, after you get through this path here, you're going to come up to the opening. You're going to see all the little red towers around here. And you can go ahead and plant your flag. And the first spot that you're going to want to run to is going to be right over here to the right. You're going to see this tower that that symbol on the top of it kind of looks like the letter A. So you're going to drop down. You can kill the acolytes first if you want to, or you can go straight for the knight. I usually like to kill the acolytes, and that's going to be a similar thing in pretty much this entire dungeon here. You're going to be wanting to kill all the acolytes always and clear them because they will throw those little fire grenades at you and they can cause a lot of problems. So next you're going to kill this yellow bar knight. I'm using a linear fusion for a lot of the content in this dungeon just because I have a very well rolled Reed's Regret. You can kind of use whatever you want, but I do recommend linear fusions. And be sure to put major spec on them as well. After you kill the knight, it's going to open the door to this tower, and then you can kill the sword-bearing knight. And you're going to see three symbols here. So for me, that looks like a Vex head, chair, and equals over equals. Now that's just what I'm calling them, but you want to remember what those symbols look like. Whatever you think they look like, call them that, because it makes it easier to remember which is which. And then you're going to run outside. I usually like to go on these little platforms jutting out, and you can kind of see everything, and you need to see where you need to go. So once you've spotted all three, and you can run in and out of that room just to remember, but once you know where each one is, you just go to each one, and you're going to use this sword that you got from the sword-bearing knight to kill 3 different bosses. And each one has a different mechanic, which we'll go over as we get to them. And at each tower, you're going to have another yellow bar knight. That knight is going to be blocking. You have to kill him in order to open the door to get into each tower, and that's how you can fight each of those bosses. And a lot of times you're going to see me do this. Sometimes I'll kind of pause and hide for a little bit and let the sword charge on the super. That's a very useful tactic. The super on this sword is free, so you can use that super to kill stuff without expending the ammo of the sword. And in this instance, the first one that I'm going to be fighting here is the knight. Now the knight can be damaged by light attacks and the super. So I usually like to lead with the super on the knight just to chunk him down about 1/3 of his health, and then block, light attack, block, light attack, and just continue that. So you're going to light attack him twice and then block to counter or to stop his attack, and then just keep doing that until you kill him. And of course you can always just lead with another super, and that'll save you a little bit more ammo. Now when you're traversing this area, going through all the different towers and trying to get around, look out for these little elevators here, because these are your best friend. A lot of times they can help you get some height and help you get around a lot better, and of course give you a nice eagle-eye view so that you can see where your next spot is that you've got to go. Now the next boss, I went ahead and skipped to that to save a little bit of time, is going to be the wizard. The wizard is damaged by the heavy attack, which will throw out a little wave of energy that damages the wizard. Now sometimes you can get him with the super, but you kind of have to hit the wizard directly with the super, and you have to jump up and do them, so I wouldn't even try that and don't bother with it. I would just use the heavy attacks. And always jump when you're doing this, because it makes it a whole lot easier for the wizards to kill you. So you'll just keep jumping repeatedly, throwing the little wave attacks. They heat seek just a little bit, but you want to still kind of be on point with them and aim a little high because they kind of arc downward. And then the wizard's down. And the final one is going to be the Shrieker. And for the Shrieker, you just block. You're going to block and reflect its projectiles back at it and kill it. Be careful about the ogres, as they can throw off your aim just a little bit. So hiding behind the pillars is usually a good thing to do when you're blocking at the Shrieker, because then a lot of times it'll stop one of the ogres. And it's a good thing to go in with just enough sword to try to get back out. I had to stealth there at the end just to kind of finish my escape. But always keep the sword block up even after the Shrieker is dead and back out of the room. Otherwise those ogres can kill you pretty easily. When you're done with all that, you just go straight to the end here, and that is very clearly marked by a giant green beam that's coming out of that tower. And you'll kill another yellow knight to access the tower, and that's it. Now you see me on this little bridge right here. I killed all of those using just one sword, but you don't have to do that. Or if you run out of ammo, you're going to have to get another sword. Those sword bearer knights will spawn on any of those bridges that I was just on all over the area. And a lot of times what you can do, they won't always spawn immediately. Just run back and forth to either end of the bridge, and eventually one of them will spawn right in the middle of the bridge. Kill the sword knight, and that's how you get another sword. Now for this room, there's a whole bunch of doorways here, but none of those are what you want to go in. You want to aim down here, and you can see that green glow that kind of just lit up. That's the spot you want to go to. And that leads to the next encounter. And you'll follow this path here. It's a pretty linear path. There's not really any hidden spots to go to other than that door that I just showed you. Now this next encounter is the ogre encounter. So there's going to be 3 invulnerable ogres that are kind of walking around a labyrinth area. It's not too difficult to figure out the shape of it. So it's kind of shaped like a trident, or like a, there's 3 pathways that go from the point where I just started at back there. But if you just follow the exact route that I take, you shouldn't have any problems navigating it. You can look up a map online, but it's not necessary. You just follow what I'm doing, you'll be good. So you'll come to this first room here. There's going to be a whole bunch of acolytes, thrall, and a yellow barred knight. And use your Rat King. This is what I do, is I'll just use Rat King to slowly kind of whittle through them, as well as my grenades. And I usually like to leave a thrall or 2 alive, and you'll see why in just a moment. So you'll kill this yellow bar knight, and he's going to drop a little void orb. And then I'll whittle down some of the thralls to get just a couple of them left. And then at this point, run around the room and reorient yourself, because it can get kind of confusing in here. So there's the door that I came in. You don't want to go in that one. You want to go out the opposite door. And I'm sorry, that's incorrect. You do want to go out this one. So you'll go back out the door, because we're going to do the right corridor first. And as you saw there, what I like to do is I'll shoot the thrall just to get myself invisible with Rat King, then grab the orb and run out. Now unfortunately the ogre was a little farther back than I'd anticipated, but don't let that freak you out. They can kill you, but they're not ridiculously overpowered. You can just run at them and jump over them like I just did. And then as soon as you slam this right orb, you want to go make a beeline straight for this spot that I'm going to. And this will be another room full of acolytes, thrall, and a yellow bar knight. And you're just going to kind of rinse and repeat, do the same thing you did in the last room. Slowly kill all the enemies using Rat King to do so safely so that they don't overwhelm you. Maybe leave a thrall or 2. I think this time I didn't leave a thrall though, just because my grenade killed them all. Take out the knight. Take out the acolyte. And this time you want to take the orb in the alternate direction. So not the door you came in, but the other door. Because now we're using this room as sort of a pass-through to go to the middle corridor. We've taken care of the right corridor and slammed there. Now we just want to go out the middle one. And the ogre is camping the door You can run past them when they're camping the door like that, but it's a little bit risky because there's a good chance they either A, slam you into the wall and kill you, or B, slam you away and then laser you in the back while you're trying to run. And so you just want to kind of hide until they go away. Now, I've heard some people say that the ogres have eyes in their knees, and you've almost got to make it so that your character is not visible to any portion of the ogre's body whatsoever. I don't think that's the case. I think you just got to wait it out, and eventually the ogres will move. As you'll see here, it's a bit of a long wait sometimes, and you're going to just kind of sit there and stare at their knee. But the moment that they move away, just like that, you're going to want to run. And always keep jumping. Slam that orb. And this ogre actually kind of trapped me for just a little bit. So you see there's absolutely nowhere that I can go. He's just kind of right there. And obviously he can definitely see me. But if you just kind of hug the wall, hug the corner, he won't be able to get you. They can't come all the way up. Now, hunters, like myself, of course, you can just stealth right through. And that's the next room you're going to go to, is the one that I just shot at there. Hunters, this encounter's a lot easier for you. Whenever you get into one of these situations or after you slam an orb, you can just stealth and run to the next room. I'm trying to not do that here, of course, just to show that the other classes can still do it. And again, you could try to run past him, but I recommend not doing that just because you want to be as safe as you can. There's no reason to throw away a perfectly good run just because you were wanting to rush a little bit. And the ogre went away. As soon as he turns his back, I run past him into the next room. And you're going to do the same thing all over again. So kill the yellow bar, kill the acolytes, maybe leave yourself a thrall or two if you can. If you can't, not a big deal. And feel free to super the first room and super the last room. I kind of did this without supering at them, but feel free to use your supers freely in here just to try to clear these rooms a little better. And just like the second room with the knight in it, you're going to go to the opposite side through the door that you didn't come through, which is not that one. Because now we're trying to get to the third corridor on the left. And then kill some thralls, use Rat King to get the invis, time it right before you pick up the orb, and you can run out and go slam the last one. And I always like to run it in this order because if you go from right to left, right corridor, middle corridor, then the left corridor, it's a lot easier that way. The left corridors can sometimes get a little tricky. The ogre likes to camp in that little elbow, and he sometimes just won't leave for very long periods of time. So that way you don't have to deal with them. Now right there you saw the ogres disappear. Sometimes they won't. You want to make sure you wait to start this next encounter until the ogres disappear. Otherwise the ogres will stay there throughout the entire encounter and laser you and make it nearly impossible to complete. So, for this encounter here, you're going to see that there's a totem in the middle. You're going to just about exclusively use Rat King for this whole time. And you're going to keep doing the exact same thing you see me doing right here. You're going to kill an enemy, turn invisible. Kill an enemy, turn invisible. Kill an enemy, turn invisible. All the while, you want to make sure you keep running back to that totem every few seconds because you don't want to let that thing turn red. It only takes a few seconds for it to turn red and then wipe you if you're not on that totem. So you got to just keep running back. Now you don't have to stand on it until it goes all the way back from red. But you do just want to make sure to step on it here and there every few seconds just to keep it from wiping you. After that, while you're doing that, you're going to use your linear fusion rifle, and you're going to kill one of the yellow bar knights. They spawn on the left, the right, and the back middle. After you kill one of them, you'll get the orb from them, and you'll slam that orb. Now in the bottom left, you'll see the Curse of Suffering. The Curse of Suffering, if it gets to times 10, it will kill you. The way that you keep that from going up is to keep slamming orbs. So you basically just keep moving along. After you slam each orb, 2 Boomer Knights are going to spawn in the top back. And so at that point, you're just going to snipe the 2 of them. And you'll kind of have to, you know, snipe here and there and then keep turning invis. You basically just want to stay invisible as much as possible because it makes this a whole lot easier. Because if not, this room is just an absolute bullet hell and you're going to get destroyed. This makes it a lot easier to try to use Rat King. And after that, you're just going to rinse and repeat. So, you'll kill a knight, turn invisible. Grab the orb, take it back here, and turn invisible. And then you'll slam the orb, and then you'll turn invisible. And then you'll snipe the knights, and then you'll turn invisible. And after that, after you've successfully slammed 6 orbs, you will have completed this encounter. And this is about the hardest part of the dungeon in my opinion, so if you can get through this part, you can do the rest of it no problem. After that, you'll pop this giant pimple, and you'll make your way to the wizard part of this dungeon. Now, a lot of this is sort of a jumping puzzle slash lots of traps. Be very careful with this first part here. Don't try to just drop down through the whole thing. You can, but that's risky and there's no point in doing that. Try to go down one at a time. And don't do what I just did there and kind of bounce off of things. That was blind luck that I safely bounced through it. But you want to kind of drop down bit by bit and land on these little outer rings. And just take each trap kind of individually, as opposed to, like I said, jumping through the whole thing. Don't be afraid to take your time. It can be a little nerve-wracking at this part. This was, ironically, where a lot of my runs ended. I didn't have as big of an issue with the Chamber of Suffering. It was always these stupid spike traps, because I was like, oh, okay, cool, I'm done. And then I'd try to run through, and then I'd kill myself. So just take this part kind of slow. And you want to take this entire wizard encounter very slow. There is also a map. As you can see, there's the symbols laid out there. They don't do you any bit of good, really, unless you're looking up a map, or unless you've done this enough times to memorize exactly where those locations are. But we're going to pretend, like I said, that you guys have never done this before, so just do what I do here. Rather than try to look up the map and path it out, I always just start to the right, and just slowly work my way through all these traps. You'll encounter a few enemies here and there, just kill everything you see. Don't jump headlong into any of these traps. You want to pay attention to where each one's going to be at, and just kind of pay attention to their patterns before you try to run through them. Most of them aren't so bad, but there are a couple of spots in here that are a little dicey. There is a wizard spot directly to my right here, but if you don't see a shrieker right there, that means the wizard's not there. So basically what you're doing is you're going to follow roughly, you don't have to follow me exactly, but roughly follow the path that I'm taking, and just follow the pings on your radar. Go wherever the red is, and you're looking for these wizards right here. And again, freely super them just to try to kill them as fast as possible. So after going up that right hallway there, I'm going to kind of work my way around the back now. And this area is sort of shaped similar to the ogres. It's kind of a trident, but there's a lot of little hallways and nooks and things in between, so it's not quite as simple. So like I said, just try to safely navigate it as best you can, and then just follow the radar pings, so you can hunt down the wizards and kill them. You have to kill 3 wizards. There's a lot of 3s in this dungeon. 3 orbs, 3 ogres, 3 wizards, 3 mini-bosses, and 3 phases at the end. Make sure to take out as many of these acolyte snipers as you can, because they will kill you while you're trying to jump around. And now we're kind of on the right side of things. And be careful not to do what I just did. Wasted one of my jumps because my toes were off the ground or something like that, so I had to sort of do my shadow dive to get back there. Warlocks, you have the easiest part out of everybody for this. Titans, it's a little more difficult for you guys, but it's not so bad. Of course, you guys want to use whatever you're most comfortable with. It doesn't really matter what jump that you use. However, with hunters, I would strongly recommend that you use your triple jump, just so that you have the extra jump. With warlocks, you can kind of pick and choose. I kind of prefer strafe jump with them myself. And then Titans, I like the high lift, but Whichever one you're comfortable with is fine. Warlocks and Titans are a little bit more lenient there. You guys can kind of just pick whichever one you want. And you should be able to get through just fine. But Hunters, I would strongly advise triple jump. I've gone through here before with strafe jump like an idiot and not realized I had it on and just launched myself and not had a third jump to recover. And you see here I found another wizard. This one's kind of a jerk because he's going to shoot you through the crack here. And if you can kill all the enemies around it, the wizard by itself is not as big of a threat, so you can just kind of jump up there with it. And feel free to be a little more liberal with your heavy ammo than I was here. And occasionally, if you're lucky like that, the wizards will fall off. And on that note, feel free to also use solar weapons. If you catch the wizards out on the edge of their little platforms and you pop their shield with a solar, more often than not, the popping of their shield will cause them to just fall off and die immediately. This is one of the trickier spike traps. Just move through it just like I did. And now we've kind of gone up the right side, around the back, and down the left. And so now I'm kind of headed into the center. And the way that you'll know that it's the center is because of that right there, this little hanging pedestal with the 2 spike traps rotating on either side. And that right there, where I was just looking, is the exit. So this is always a good spot to come to if you ever kind of get lost. If you can find your way here, it's a good way to orient yourself because you know you're right at the center of things. And if you've already swept around the outside, as I just did, then you know now it's time to start looking kind of in the middle. And again, just follow the radar pings. And right here is my last wizard. I'll just carefully make my way over there. Here comes the wizard. And super it. And that is the third and final wizard. And then you just got to kind of carefully make your way through here. Now, watch out for those little swinging lanterns because sometimes they'll do exactly what you're seeing here, where they seem to time perfectly to smack you in the butt when you're going to try to jump over the spikes. So you just got to be careful and time it. Hubris will be your greatest enemy during this jumping puzzle part of this, just because you're going to get a little antsy and probably start trying to rush through traps. Don't do that. Just take your time. This is not a difficult part. It's just a bit obnoxious because you have to kind of bide your time and carefully jump through everything. And again, there's the exit. And I'm just going to slowly make my way over there. And congratulations, you've completed the wizard encounter. Unfortunately, no chest for this part. And you'll just follow the pathway here, straight to the end, and to the boss. Now the boss room here is going to take a little bit of effort, but it's mostly just going to be kind of biding your time. It's going to take a little bit. Don't be afraid to take your time in here. Don't try to rush through and do everything as quickly as possible because, again, hubris will kill you. The first thing I like to do after starting the encounter is I like to run over to where the Shrieker is at. The Shrieker is the back middle tower from where you spawned in at. And then I kill all the acolytes. Then from there, I like to kill the acolytes on the other towers on the left and right, just to try to make things easier. Always want to kill as many acolytes as you can. And so for this encounter, I like to run Gallarhorn, and a close range weapon, and a long range weapon. And if you have Vorpal, those are just better. I have a Vorpal Crate and a Vorpal Aisha's Embrace here, along with my Gallarhorn. You'll kill a knight and get yourself a sword. And then if you successfully killed all the acolytes, then you can take out all 3 of these bosses with just one sword, and you can do so quite easily. Always start with the Shrieker, and then shield yourself to reflect the the Shrieker's projectiles, and then you'll go to the Knight. Now for the Knight, I like to just super him here. And so I'll kind of super him once, and then I'll run back in the back, and then I'm just going to play leapfrog with him here while the super charges. Now if you want to, in order to save time, you can super the Knight, run over, work on the wizard for a little bit, come back and super the Knight again, then go work on the wizard for a little bit, and then come back and super a Knight the 3rd time, because it's going to take 3 of the supers from the sword to kill the Knight. And try not to mistime it like I just did twice there and let him kill you. He will kill you in a few swings. But again, if you want to be not having to waste your time jumping over him like I'm doing, then you can just super him and work on the wizard and kind of go back and forth. You'll super him again, he's dead, and now you go and take out the wizard, and that's the last of the 3 bosses. And you'll kind of do what I'm doing here with the wizard, where you'll just jump back and forth and throw those little waves through the doorway. That's usually the safest way to do it. And you guys may occasionally hear some background noise whenever I'm doing these guides. I like to do them in one take. Feels a little more real that way, a little more raw. Editing takes time, obviously, but I don't know, it just feels a little more personal for me to just sit here and talk to you guys and just do it in one take. When you're slamming these orbs, you're going to want to run and grab each orb from the tower and then slam it in the pedestal to the right or the left, not the one directly in front of the tower. Like you see me do here, I just always run to the right. The reason that you want to do this is because it confuses the boss just a little bit so that he's not always just camping the one that you're at. Because a lot of times he'll do that. When you run up into a tower to grab the orb, he likes to camp the one you're standing in front of. So this throws him off a little bit. Now before you slam the last orb, kill as many of the enemies as you can, especially the acolytes, because they're going to keep throwing those stupid fireball grenades at you. And when you slam this last orb, make sure that you jump immediately, because when you slam these orbs, the boss is going to throw a little wave of fire at you. Yep, just like that. From here, you're going to want to super the boss, and then just Gallahorn him. Keep jumping this entire time. There's going to be thralls below you, as well as some exploding curse thralls. Just keep jumping and keep Gallahorning. Hunters, I like to use Mobius Quiver. Warlocks, Nova Bomb, Titans, Thunder Crash. Always lead with your super and then just empty your Gallahorn at him. Between each of these damage phases, you want to kill enough enemies to get some heavy ammo for your Gallahorn. And if you run out of your galley ammo, then you can spend the last bit of it just DPSing him with one of your other weapons. I'm using a Vorpal Crate here, but you don't have to use that. You can use whatever you want. And then he's going to put his sword down, and he's going to, when he stabs it into the ground, that means he's about to do a little AoE wipe mechanic. So just rinse and repeat that whole process, and then before you know it, he's dead. And congratulations, you've just done a solo flawless of the Pit of Heresy. And for your troubles, you get this little emblem here. I think this is one of the cooler looking emblems. But anyways, folks, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this guide. I hope you find it helpful even here in the Witch Queen. But as always, folks, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.